and I have them here on my system. So بقلب the folder في عندكم one image, two images actually. One image of a guy, the second image of batteries, iPhone batteries or whatever you want to call them. And the third one is an ABR, so we used that before. It's a brush type. هلا مش هنستعملها هالسيشن نحنا بس we're going to use it probably Wednesday. So you know بفوتوشوب في عنا brush presets اسمه. You can create your own brush. Some people do, some companies, some independent designers, they create their own brushes لأنه بكون بدهم a certain specific kind of brush ما بيلاقوها على store or ما في منها بقلب فوتوشوب الاسينشالز. نحن بنستعمل the regular one, the circle one, هي عملتها فوتوشوب. عادة if you want something more specific مثل بالبروجكت في موجود وحدة أعطيتكم brush كمان أزواج وفرجيتكم كيف تعملوا import. هلا كمان بنشوفها هون كيف نعملها import. Okay, and this is our final image بيكون. We're going to create something like this. Okay, so the emphasis is going to be on the glow. And of course, how to do the shadows and the shadows here and the highlights on him. And في عندنا كمان the glow على القنينة من هون as well. And the glare on the screen. So بهذا السيشن حنكون we're creating the battery with the text عليها and the glow هون. The next session we're going to be creating the shadows and the highlights. So we're going to split them. No need to نسرد عليه يعني ساعة ونشتغل بسرعة. So we can do it in 2 hours. إذا 3 ما عندنا مشكلة كمان as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need the wallpaper, the background تبعنا, which is this one. Okay, so let's create a new document. So Ctrl N and make sure it's 1920 times 1080. Alright, 300 resolution. We don't no need to call it anything, so we can leave it untitled one and we can say create. So this is an HD resolution. This is the as HD as it can get. Everything more بتصير high definition. So this is 1920 times 1080. This is regular TV styles, TV resolutions. Okay, so I'm gonna close that up. I don't need it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import in my asset. So من هون right here, this one. So I have two. أنا حطيت two ما بعرف ليه. You can choose any one of them. And وقت يجيكم هول عليها الهاندلز الاكس هاندل اتس ا بلو تايب. هيدي لانه عم بيقولوا لي شو بدك يكون حجمه. في اكبس انتر or في I can دغري rescale it as I see fit. So I can rescale it by doing this. عادي رواق and سنترها شوي ارجع.
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning. ماشي حالك؟ And then I rescale like this until I can't see the white anymore. شوفي في شي مان؟ ايه مين عم يحكينا؟ Alright, so I wanted something like this. I can't see the white anymore. So تيوصل الطرف على تقريبا the canvas size that I have. And enter to say OK. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want to crop this image. I want to crop it using the crop tool. So that's the crop tool هون. It's on the 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 5th element. Or you can press C on your keyboard to get the shortcut. So it opens up this handle that I can drag on either side or I can drag on the corners هون to make it smaller or bigger. عادي, we all know how to crop. We do it every day on social media. So I can just click on the handle and drag down. So هحط something like this قبل الشيرت بشوي. Okay, من هون. Now from this side I want it تقريبا لهون. So I don't want to see the entire table. I want to see لهون تقريبا. And for the bottom, let me just push it up تقريبا لهون, and the top maybe I can make it a little bit smaller, so let's say like this. And when I'm satisfied with the crop, I can press on the check mark on it, or I can press enter. Okay, so we crop it like this. Now what we can do is we can just create a selection now around the entire subject. So the subject in this case is not only going to be the guy. The subject is also going to be an inanimate object. So في subject يكون an object عادي. So the subject of the image is not just the man, it's the laptop and the table and whatever is on the table. So the glass and the bottle and the glasses and the notebook on it. So that's the subject, that's the foreground بسموه. That's the center of the image. كل شيء بعده اسمه background. Now this is closer than the foreground, but that's why it's blurred out, because it's not the center of the image. هيك بيعملوا بالموفيز اوقات they بحطوا الكاميرا ورا object بكون كتير قريب, and the object is naturally blurred out لأنه بكون كتير قريب على الكاميرا, so it loses emphasis. It's not on the foreground anymore. لو حتى أقرب من foreground. Now let's make a selection and then save that selection for later on, because we're not going to use it for today. So I'm going to make a selection really quickly around the subject. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to select the polygonal lasso tool. Okay, and before I do that, actually, before I select it from scratch, let me select it with quick selection tool, not the object selection tool. So I just quickly select this. Okay, ما بعرف شو صار له البي سي. Alright, so I'm just going to select it quickly like this, and just roughly so I can come back and refine my selection شوي. لو حتى طلعت شوي بريت it doesn't matter. المهم ألقط الأشياء على السريع هون, so I can press Alt and I can reduce from my selection هون. Now بالpolygonal lasso tool, I can come back here and refine my selection. مثلا هون, this is the first place I need to refine my selection. So I can just say minus because I want to reduce from my selection here. So minus, click, and then I can let go of my Alt to تخفف, to reduce from my selection, and Shift so I can add to my selection. So when I'm reducing from my selection, I can press Alt and click, and then automatically بتصير في عند minus symbol تحت. That means that I'm reducing from my selection. So هون, and then like this. Alright, and I go back around. Now I can press Control and click. That means I can close off my loop, and that reduces from my selection. Now هون I want to reduce as well, so Alt, click, and click on him, and then click for Control and click. And then here as well, I need to add this time around on. So Shift, I have a plus now. I click again, and then follow the outline of his head right here up until that position هون, and then Control and click. That closes off my loop. And then هون as well, so Shift, click, boom, here, right here, and I'm going to go through his entire outline of the head. Okay, هلا هون it becomes a little bit blurry, so I'm going to ارجع شوي لورا بالصورة and then select it like this. No need to be accurate, this is fine. And then close it off. So I selected this one. I can reduce شوي هون, so Alt, click again, and then close off the loop. I think this is fine. هلا نعمل further للselection. Alright, so now his beard, so Shift, click, and then I'm going to put 2 points, one horn, and just so I can make this a little bit more precise. Going to add from his nose. One. Okay, so added the selection هون. I can reduce from my selection هون. And reduce from my selection هون as well. Let's check here. Now هون it needs some fixing. ضروري. Let's start من هون. So Alt to reduce from my selection, and then I'm just going to follow the outline of his jeans and then his shirt. And then just quickly deselect all of this, and then hone as well. So Alt, and select this. Some things you can't get in the quick selection tool, so you'll have to go back and select them again. So hone like this.
Best doctor,
Yep.
which tool are you using?
The polygonal lasso tool.
ليه ما بنستعمل ال Object Selection Tool؟
لأنه مش كلكم عندكم إياها. It's a 2020 feature.
Okay, but you know it's much easier.
It is, yeah, definitely. بس إنه we're gonna stick to conventional selection tools. Since كلكم عندكم إياهم بيكونوا. Alright, so هون this is good. Now let's select from this side هون. So shift, I'm going to add this one. Added this. Now I'm going to add شوي من هون as well. And من هون. هول صاروا كتير details بس I don't want to بعدين تصير قول هي يا ريت عملنا selection أحسن. So I hate that. يطلع الأوتبوت غلط شوي. sometimes مش دايما أوقات الأغلاط ما ببينوا أوقات ببينوا كتير حسب كيف المود هون as well. So let's select من هون. Now I think the face is done and the body. Let's check هون. So it needs هون شوية fixing. So Alt, and we need to fix هون as well the fingers. So Alt, I move around his fingers. This first finger here. And his second finger. His hand. And now be careful not to get to the table. يعني ما تنزلوا كتير لهون. We don't need that. So we can just select it here, okay, like this. Come back around on it, and then climb up the laptop, the side of the laptop. And now I've deselected من هون. This place هون, no need for me to deselect, so I'm going to bridge them together. So the polygonal lasso tool, going to either bridge them together or deselect. هعمل شوية deselection هون. So I want to add to my selection هون, and then add to my selection هون as well. So خففت شوي من السelection. And this is good هون. Let's check هون. So shift this. At the side of the laptop. I can make this straighter شوي the selection هون. And I want to select. We can leave the paper out. It's fine. No need to نكون هالقد accurate. Now the side of the glasses we need to select it as well. So هون this. So there's really not anything that I can teach you بالselection. Only the fundamentals يعني هوديك بصيروا مع الوقت يعني you can just approximate and تعرفوا شو بدكم تعملوا selection وشو لا وهيك. Okay, so هون as well, so shift and add to my selection هون. And now the side of the bottle هون. Quickly add to my selection هون since it's a straight line. And just climb up هون all the way to the nozzle. نخليني فوق. All the way down هون. Select this, and select the glass now. So, glass, the rim of the glass. Maybe I can make one big selection here. No, I need to make another selection. Another one here, and then here. Select that, select this table from here. And then we need to deselect this area. This is pretty easy now since it's one simple straight line all the way here. هون طلوع لحديد الخشب a little bit higher. The side of his leg. Okay, now we can just deselect من هون as well for مرة. Actually, no, that's his leg. So let's climb من هون and close it off like this. Now we selected هون, we just need to select هون again. لأنه we added this to our selection. So like this. Right, and هون as well. So this side. And the last bit is هون. And now the selection from هون. We're selecting this part because we need to clip it and use it for our shadows and add some light to it. مش موجودة بالسين هونيك. So we need extra control over this area. That's why we need to select this. يلا, I'll wrap it up quickly هون. Yep, this is wrong. Since first thing, عندي غلط هون. And the second thing, I want to. This should be deselected هون. Yep, this should be deselected كلها هون. This should be deselected. And this should be deselected هون. Maybe I can deselect them كلهم هون فد مرة. That would be way faster. Just do that really quickly هون. This is much better now. Okay, so this added. كان قبل في عندي شوية مشاكل with the selection. So now it's much better. Alright. Right. Just loop around. And we can add this selection هون as well. That will fix it. Okay. So that's the selection هون. Now في عندنا شوية مشاكل. It's fine. Now we can just feather it. So right click عليها للسelection تبعولتنا and say feather. And we can increase the feather or leave it at 5. 5 is the default one. 5 is good in this case. You know, a lot of 5 pixels is a lot of feathering. If you want to increase that كتير الedges عندكم pointy and you want to make the edges smoother for your selection, I mean, you increase the radius, feather radius. You can leave it at 5. So that smooths out شوي our curve. Now I can right click عليها and I can save it, save my selection. So save selection هون. So now we can come back to it later on as a عملنا selection, so we can save it and come back to it and use it again. And I'm going to name it. I'm going to name it foreground selection. And كل شيء عادي untitled one menu. And I'm going to press OK. ما سمعت.
لأنه إذا بدي أطلع وأتبهدل
ريموند عمل لي
رح
ميوت.
أكون مبسوط. أعمل بحس أكون مرتاحة نفسيا.
I'm gonna mute you. Okay, so we saved our selection here. Now we can just press Ctrl D and later on we'll come back to it. So now the second thing we're going to do is we're going to import in the battery. Now the battery is this one. We import that in here. We press enter. We press V on the keyboard so we can move it around now, or you can select the tool for. Now I wanna. Did I move that? Yep. So I wanna select. Let me first lock this layer. So I'm going to press on the background and lock this. Now I can't move it around anymore. I can only move this around. Now I want only this battery. Now this is simple. I can just select, let's say, the lasso tool and quickly select this. Quickly, I mean really quickly, like this. Yeah. Alright, and I can press Ctrl J on the keyboard. Now I have two separate files. I have this one. So this one. Let me just turn that off. So I have this one. Why can't I select it? نشوف هون. Now I can move it around. ما بعرف ليه it was stubborn. Now هون I can just rotate it like this now to this side around this angle and then make it smaller and probably place it شي مطرح هون. Alright, so let's say هون is good. Maybe a little bit lower, so something like this. Okay, and this is our battery. Now before we proceed, we're going to need to darken the image شوي. هلا we'll fix the lights later, but we need to darken them شوي. So I'm going to press on this layer هون. Okay, and I'm going to add an adjustment layer. The first one is going to be curves. And now I want to make it substantially darker. And I want it to be really dark. I know later on we're going to be using the mask tool in order to bring back some light to our image and keep some shadows. So that's why I need to make it really dark so I can mimic the shadows. هلا أكيد حيرجع بعدين تتظبط. But this is just something بنعمل بسرعة just so we can darken the image. So I'm going to press بالنص على curve. Okay, and then I'm going to drag that down. So this is really dark. You don't want it to be that dark. So this is good تقريبا. So وطوها تتقشعوا هيك تقريبا. So it's like an L curve. Here the image is not really high res. ما تنسوا انه we stretch it out. So when we add to it the adjustment layers, it's going to be blurry شوي. That's why the final result عندنا is blurry. I should have chosen another image. But it's fine, it doesn't really matter. So we close that off. Let's add another one. This is going to be levels. So curves the first one, levels the second one. And I want to make it really dark. Now, to make it really dark, I can pull from this side. So this side is complete white, this side is complete black. That means that this side is highlights and this side is shadows. Now whenever I drag this down, I kill from the white, I eat from the whites. So that's why it becomes darker. So I'm going to just drag this down. When I make it dark, it's fine, so 70 is good. And of course, I want to drag from here, from the center, down around 2.3, 2.4, it doesn't really matter. Maybe I can do that, or even more, or maybe even less. And around this point, 50, let's say. Let's agree on this. We can always come back and fix it since the options are honey, so we can always delete them, we can always come back and fix them. I just want to make the image darker. And now let's begin with the battery. So we want to make it glow. We want to make it glow like this. Like this. Okay, so let's start with the glow of the battery. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just press on this layer and we're going to call this battery. So battery. Okay, now we're going to add a hue and saturation to it. So click on the here and add a hue and saturation. So hue and saturations are color. I want to clip it to the battery since I only want to affect the battery and not the entire image. So I click on this icon here. So now it's clipped and I can reduce here from my hue and I can make it شوي orange or red whole hue about it. So I'm going to drag down maybe minus 52, minus 60, minus 55. It doesn't really matter. Let me just reduce it شوي. Minus 54, let's say. Okay, so now we have this color. I can close that off. Now, these two, they're one layer. We can do them one layer, or we can just duplicate this one, let's say. So let's duplicate this one. Ctrl J to duplicate. And I'm going to drag this one on top of the hue and saturation. Now, the reason صار هيك is because the clipping mask فلت. So I have to press again on the hue saturation and clip it again. Or you can use the Alt method. So I clipped it again. Now هون I want to select this, the liquid inside of my battery. So I'm going to need to zoom in. Right, and I'm going to select this green stuff, and this is going to be the bar. So I'm going to rename this layer to bar, and I'm going to need to select the entire thing on. So let me do it with the mouse. So click, click again, just select this. Super simple stuff. Okay, so like this, maybe we can add on شوي. Just to be more thorough. Now I can just press Ctrl J هلا هون. Right, and this one I can turn it off, the battery copy. And this one is going to be bar. So the bar of the battery. Right, and now هون I can add a hue saturation to it again. I can add to the bar the hue and saturation again. So hue and saturation, I can clip it down. ما بعرف إذا I mute you can I mute عندكم as well. بس عندي بعمل mute لشخص معين. Okay, so هون this is clipped. Now I want to colorize this. So colorize كأنه it blacks and white the layer underneath and it doesn't get affected by the colors of the image. So هون إذا بطفيها colorize, whenever I add a color it gets added to the green تحتها. But if I colorize it كأنه صارت black and white. So now the colors are only the color that you see here. So this is purple and this is orange. Okay, so I want to drag this down and place it somewhere to become an orange color. So let's say 50 for now. I'm going to increase the saturation. Now what the saturation is قد في color or color يعني إذا it's red is 100% saturation تلاقوا كيف بيصير شكله كثير في color صار بقلبه. That's the yellowest yellow ever. This is the least yellowest yellow ever. This is ما في بقلبه ولا color. صار بقلبه basically gray لأنه شلت كل الcolor منه. So ما بدي إياها هالقد بدي أعليها شوي. So maybe around 70 is good. And the lightness, I'm going to increase the lightness till something like that. So I want this color. Maybe I can change it up a little bit. So let's say this 39 or something. And this is a good color. Now I'm only affecting the bar hole, not the entire battery. That's why I selected this part hole. Now these two, I can just combine the hue and saturation and the bar, and I can group them into one layer. Now to do that, I can right click. راحت الماكرو. Okay, so I can right click with my mouse on عادة and I can say convert to smart object. So now صار one simple layer. I can access them again, of course, لأنه they're a smart object, so I can double click عليها and في ارجع فوت غير اللي بدي غيره في يضل العب بالhue saturation. And if I change it هون, it changes outside as well. Okay. Now this is selected هون. Now I'm going to start copy and pasting the same layer, the hue saturation. Let me change that name to bar. Maybe not bar, ما بعرف اسمها بشع, whatever. Now I can just start duplicating this layer bar, so Ctrl J. So Ctrl J and صار في فوقها another bar. Now the bar copy, I'm going to add to it a blur effect. So we go to add the blur effect to it, we go filter. So on the top هون filter, blur and Gaussian blur. So في عندنا كتير types of blur. We're going to go with this one. Now this is a 0.5 pixels blur. The more I increase it, the more blur I have. So I'm going to increase it to around, like say 2. So صار عندي blur عليها. And I'm going to press OK. Okay, now I'm going to copy this again. So Ctrl J. So bar copy 2. And I can just go to filter again. Blur. Gaussian blur. And I can increase that. Maybe 9 is good. So ليكو بلش يصير عندنا شوية وهج. Okay. And then yet again, Ctrl J. Alright. And for some reason, I have two blurs. So I'm going to turn one of them off. So either this or this. Maybe let's delete that, since I don't want it anymore. Delete smart filter. أنا غلطت بس بالغلط هون. So you can just keep it like this. Now again, هون this one bar copy 3. Let's access the Gaussian filter. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Now this is on 9. I can increase it. Maybe 80 is good. So ليكو بلش يصير عندي a bit more color glow يعني. And the last one, Ctrl J. بعده عم يطلع لي two filters. لأنه I'm applying two. Okay, let me just go back. Go back. Okay, so this is great. So this is the first one, this is the second one. So I can just access it by double clicking on Gaussian blur. No need to go back to filter and select blur again. So So that just adds another blur effect if I do that. So I can just double click on it and I increase it من هون directly. So 9 is good هون. So I'm just retracing my steps. And هون Ctrl J again and I double click on Gaussian blur. And هون صارت 87 whatever. So you can just increase it like this. I'm just using arbitrary numbers. Let's double it. Let's make it 160. Okay. Now the last one is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to duplicate that. So Ctrl J. And the Gaussian blur, I'm going to make it way smaller. Probably around 1, 1.2, whatever. Okay. Now اللي بدي أعمله is I'm just going to change شوي my color هون. So بالsmart object I can just make it yellower. So 51 مثلا. Alright, so that changes هون. It should change هون. Maybe because I have so much. It's fine. Let's just add a hue saturation هون. So we can add to bar copy 5. This one. We can add a hue saturation. So hue saturation. Alright, and we can probably reduce it شوي هيك. See if this looks good. Actually, no, we don't need a hue saturation. It's fine. Let's just delete that and add a levels to it. So levels, I clip it, and I just push from here. Since I want to make this glow brighter, so I clip from the black. So let's just do that. The more I increase, the less black رح يصير في عندي بالimage بالبار يعني. So this is good هون تقريبا. Okay, now this is the glow تبعولتي. Now these I can make them to go on screen. So this screen, the bar copy is screen as well. So this becomes brighter. Screen. Let's add the first one as well. So bar copy, we add it on screen as well. So this gives us a great glow on him. Now, of course, we're going to still change the color on him. Now, these two, the levels and the bar copy 5, I'm going to just convert them to a smart object. So convert to smart object. And this is going to be on screen as well on it. So screen. Okay, so now they're clipped into one object. I can add a mask to them. وفي خفف شوي من الوهج تبعونهم. So B for the brush. Maybe I can reduce the opacity a little bit. So 25, let's say. الربع تبعولها. And I can just make this bigger. So with the brackets. And now I can just paint أطراف with the black, of course. Okay, so on the sides عم شيل شوي and من فوق شوي. Okay, so this small thing. Now هلا كل هول I can just really quickly create another layer. So I'm going to create another layer really quickly هون. And I'm going to, with the brush tool, so I have the brush tool selected, I can keep pressing Alt, so this brings up the color picker. I can choose this color, alright, and I can just add like this. So I can make this screen, and I can just add شوية color around my image like this. So هيدا الوهج تبعولي. Now I'm going to add quite a lot, since I can just go back with mask tool now and remove from it. So with the black tool and with a reduced opacity, I can just get rid of the sides هون, and I can just make this a little bit less and make this شوي. So just reduce شوي من هون, because I want that glow شوي, that yellow glow هون. Now the last thing that I can do, I need to add the text as well. So let's add the text. Now we're going to end it هون with the battery. I'm not going to work with the battery. I'm going to add a text هون, since I want a text to be portraying the number, the percentage of the number. So I'm going to add a text. So with the text tool, I'm going to press and then write 20%, 20%, and now I can move this around, Control T. I can give it a small angle like this, reduce it, and just add it inside of my battery. So something that fits well. Maybe I can rotate it شوي like this. I want it to be straighter, and press enter. Now this is good. I can change the color by double clicking on the T هون and changing the color to something like this color, probably yellower and more orange. Alright, so something like this. Yeah, that's good. Alright. So enter, you just eyeball it and see if you want that. And now I can just duplicate this. So Ctrl J. And I can just add to it a blur effect. So مثل ما عملنا قبل for the light, for the battery, we do it for the text as well. So هون filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I want to rasterize it, and I can add to it some blur. So هيك بلشت شوي تعمل blur. So 3 is good. I can just Ctrl J this again and add more to it. So blur, Gaussian blur, and I can make this like 7. Of course, we want to make them screen هون. So this is on screen, this is on screen. Let's add this one more time. So Ctrl J. So copy 3 صار عندنا. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and make this, let's say 47. ما بعرف. Doesn't really matter. So 52 حطيتها أنا إذا حدا عم يلحقني. And maybe just let's copy this layer now. The text tool كله. So Ctrl J. And let's drag this up هون. And we can change the color تبعول شوي الimage تبعول الtext تبعولنا. So instead of making it orange like this, we can just make it white. So صار عندنا 2 colors that blended together. And now we can put this on screen. On screen. Okay, now let's add a blur to it. So filter, blur,